This video, we really want to explore the political landscape about what's going on. It's important here, so stay tuned to the end. I'm gonna just drop as much knowledge and insight as I can, so brace yourself. I want you to consider the fact that we are living under what's called a continuity of government operation. You know that in the 1950s, Dwight D. Eisenhower, he set forth an agenda at his exiting address. He's leaving the White House. Kennedy's going to come in. He prepares this brilliant exiting address, letting the nation know, everyone, we are under attack. We have been infiltrated from within. There is an enemy within our government that has come up and crossed lines. This is in his, I'm paraphrasing here, I don't know exact quote, but this is in his exiting address. Kennedy comes in, he's very close to Eisenhower. You look back at history and he's shadowing Eisenhower. You know, as Eisenhower's coming in, kind of talking to him, they're close. Eisenhower was the only 5-star general to become president. Absolutely massive. 5-star general, so rare. So Kennedy comes in. We know what happens there. Now, Eisenhower, he set forth these expanded executive powers for the president-elect, to where he could then invoke certain rights as the president under the executive power without having to go and wait for Congress. Now, a lot of these powers have been abused under Bush, under Clinton, Obama, but now here under President Trump with what's going on. So first of all, let me just give you my perspective. You know, I completely exited the whole damn system. I was so frustrated. I mean, yeah, when I grew up, I was like supporting Republican, fraternity guy. So I'm like, okay, Republican, George Bush, he's a fraternity guy. I want him. I don't know. I didn't really know. 9/11 happened. That was kind of weird. But I saw that when 2005, I realized it was like, okay, there's a scam going on. I started waking up. But more recently, I completely exited. I was like, I'm not even going to vote, anymore. And I worked closely on the recall campaign, mind you, for Gavin Newsom. So, I mean, I was doing legal stuff inside the campaign, right inside the GOP, for, I'm not going to name names, but some important people. And then shortly thereafter, I worked closely with also high-level people inside of the campaign. I'm sorry, not the campaign, but the legal strategy team in Arizona. All right. Bottom line was, I wanted nothing to do with the system because it was so corrupt and so biased and so screwed up. All right, so I'm not coming at this from one perspective or the other. But what happened was, we were living in we're living under what's called continuity of government. Now, Michael Jaco did a great show just the other day with, I think is it David Clarence, professor out of New Mexico. And an attorney. He was a prosecutor. Guy's a by-the-book Christian. Absolutely amazing character. I admire his character. He's been a whistleblower for the elections and what's gone on in Arizona. And I didn't work with him, and I don't know him personally, but I got a lot of respect for him. I did work with Tina Peters indirectly because I had her as an expert witness in a case. Pretty cool. I didn't... I think it was on more of an email correspondence to a case. I didn't personally know her, but that being said, so this guy, David Clarence, he's on the show, and he's breaking it down, the whole continuity of government thing that he believes is going on. So I want you to consider that we're under that continuity of government program. And if we're under continuity of government, which would be like a quasi-martial law, where the military is actually in power, and there's all these different operations happening. Now, if you read there's a simple diagram under the DOD that breaks down like this triangle about what happens under the continuity of government and all these different listings of the operations that are going on. And if you look at that, you're like, geez, all this stuff is going on. False assassinations. I mean, I'm not saying, maybe false assassinations entertain this stuff, right? These crazy narratives. Anyway, think about with the goal in mind. What is the goal? What would the motive be? The motive is to raise the elevation of the consciousness of the people. The people are asleep. Americans are lazy. They're sitting around. You got football and Budweiser. We grow up this way, and we're stripped down of all of our legal knowledge and the constitutional rights. Even me, taught zero law, zero constitution at all. Not a bit. Didn't know anything. I had just a knack for it, and happened to be more of a natural. My great grandfather was an attorney. I didn't even know that. I didn't find it until more recently, but apparently it's in my genes. I just picked it up on it and I got it. Like, that's it. I didn't go to school. So it's but we didn't get taught that stuff at all. So there's no way to, and so now the goal of waking the people up is waking everybody up. We've got to raise the consciousness of the people, but they don't care about what's going on. So how do we do that? This is part of the operation, right? So, you got to flood all this stuff, out there to them, and kill Charlie Kirk. Let's get rid of Charlie Kirk. A lot of people like him. Okay, let's get Donald Trump shot in the ear at that rally. Oh, okay, that'll piss a lot of people off, right? That'll wake up those beer drinking, football loving patriots out there, and let's get them rising up. People aren't running around with the muskets anymore like Paul Revere. I mean, this is like too much going on. Too comfortable. But we need to rally the American people around like this narrative to wake up. Wake up, guys. We got a lot of corruption in our government, and the people are like, what? Corruption? They don't even see it. So they got Joe Biden up there. And for those who thought that was Joe Biden, you really got to rub the stuff out of your eyes, because, anybody, I don't care what side you're on, you can say that was clearly not the same guy who was in vice president under Obama. That was clearly someone else. He was like multiple people, rubber mask. It was just clearly obvious. But take it into consideration that we're living under continuity of government, all right? We're living in what's called devolution, all right? If we are living under devolution and continuity of government, all that makes sense now, right? War in Iran? Okay, now it's starting to make sense. Charlie Kirk, Erica Kirk, what's going on with Turning Point? It's starting to make sense. Snake Eyes, the movie Turning Point. You look at Snake Eyes, 1997. When I was, right when I graduated high school, in 97, Ricky Halliday was a good friend of mine, and he helped rush me into Delta Chi and grew up with the guy. And we, at that time, I'll never forget, this blockbuster movie was coming out, and these days, this is like before cell phones, before internet. The internet was out, but nobody was on it, right? So at least we weren't. So when a big movie came out, everybody watched it still. Now it's a little bit different, but everybody watched it. So this was the biggest movie of the year. It's called Snake Eyes, Nicolas Cage. And then Snake Eyes, promoted to everybody in my age group anyways. We all watched it. And boom, it was exactly the same. Literally almost the same exact narrative as the whole Turning Point Charlie Kirk assassination, including the name Charlie Kirk as well. So, you start to roll out. You're like, whoa, this is a long-term military plan. Dwight D. Eisenhower, right? JFK. This is where the operation's beginning. And I'm not saying they planned it way back then. I'm just saying they expanded the laws back then. But then at some point in the 90s, this plan is beginning to unfold. Where, okay, they got rid of JFK, maybe. They got rid of JFK Jr., maybe not, most likely. My good friend, this is a kind of woo-woo stuff, but a good friend of mine personally, all right? I've done shows with him, and I never shared the shows because he's been censored and banned on all platforms. So, unfortunately, he's not allowed. It's just terrible. But I don't know how bad the restriction is. But I tried to put shows, and I knew he was banned, so I couldn't do it. But anyways, he was a witness. He's a witness. First of all, he's a whistleblower. He worked inside the government. He was the one that blew the whistle on for Jesse Ventura, and Alex Jones did a show way back maybe 20 years ago, 15 years ago, about the FEMA camps. And there were these coffins they found. They were putting into FEMA camps. Anyways, he was the one that blew the whistle on that and rolled that out to those guys. He worked inside the government, found that stuff, discovered it. He told me, broke it to me on a show, and I have the recording of it, that, he's told it many times that in 1985 he met Donald Trump, but it wasn't the same Donald Trump as today. It was a Donald Trump that traveled back in time. and told him a lot of things were going to happen. He's a witness. He would testify to that. I have no reason to believe in a second that he's delusional or on drugs or insane or any of that. He's a level-headed guy, and he has nothing to prove, and he gains nothing by telling me it. Nothing. So he's a witness, that he met him in 1985. Anyways, that it just you start thinking, whoa, maybe we are living under a military operation. I mean, these types of things, possible time travel, okay, start to become possible if you're thinking about a continuity of government military operation with the full power of the United States military behind you. Start to become maybe possible then. Of course, it wouldn't be possible any other way because the funding is too high. But if you have that type of power and funding behind you, now you just need the support of the American people. But the American people right now are still so divided because you got one side still saying, oh, Donald Trump is over there fighting Iran and putting up the gas prices and it's terrible. It's bad. Israel's bad. He needs to go after Israel, divide and conquer. I'm telling you right now, dude, if you entertain the idea that we're living under continuity of government, this is a military operation, all right, then it all starts to make sense. And if that's not the case, then read your Bible some more. Have faith. Because, if that's not the case, then I refuse to live like that, personally. Because I'm too optimistic. And Kurt Walker Jr., a buddy of mine, he mentioned this the other day, and it inspired me. He's like, optimism is key. It's like maybe the most important thing. Hang on to optimism. In a pessimistic, negative world, without hope, for a lot of people, without direction, optimism is key. So, it's so easy to hang on to that negative attitude. And it's never going to work out. Donald Trump's gonna bomb us. We're going into World War III. I'm telling you, it's not going to happen. First of all, I know it's not because I know for a fact we're under this continuity of government plan. I've read all the laws and executive orders. So if it takes nothing other than just trusting me, then there you go. But if you want to do your own research, you can find and verify it yourself. But optimism is the key. We got to be optimistic, and that's what faith's all about. Having hope. So I hope if I can just kind of break a little bit of light on you. I had a call with actually it was Casey Nicole, and she's telling me a lot of people are, they're frustrated with Donald Trump. And if you don't have perspective about this operation, it probably get frustrating sometimes. It would get frustrating if you don't know what's going on. If you're not let in, you're not read into the operation, you're left out, dude. Alex Jones is left out. Candace Owens is left out. Tucker Carlson is left out. These people, Owen Schwer, they're all left out of the operation. Ivan Raiklin, buddy of mine, respect the guy, love him to death, He's just not read into the operation. So while they may be, Ivan Raiklin's a good person, he's a freaking amazing person. I fully believe in everything he's doing, but he's not read into the operation. So he's kind of going against Donald Trump because of it. He's not part of the operation. He doesn't understand it, or he's not willing to understand it. And without that, it leads into a, frustrating situation at times. You're like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Why are we doing this war? And why is this happening with this operation? It makes no sense. It makes zero sense at times, but it makes all the sense in the world if we're living in a continuity of government program. Follow Real Joshua Reed, everybody. All right. I think he has a show on tonight. Defcon Zero, him and Alpha Warrior, Badlands Media. Those guys are badass. John Harold. I should probably do a partnership with those guys because I like John Harold a lot. And I like, I don't even like Joshua Reed. I think Joshua Reed's probably the most freaking important media guy there is right now. Like, dude, he's a savant ex-military guy. And he freaking knows everything he's talked about. I verified. I don't just listen to people. He's credible. First of all, I've met him. I know him, and I would recommend everybody follow his stuff because you'll be a lot more clued into the operation from an expert and insider that way than just watching some fake news. All right. So one takeaway is have hope, and the most important thing is optimism. Hold on to optimism, everybody. Hit the ones. Gavin Mehl. I'll see you at the top later.